Hello everyone, my name is Joseph O'Neill Perez, and today I will name to you the axial and appendicular skeletons of our body, starting with the skull. So in front of you here is your anterior part. You have your frontal, your parietal, temporal, zygomatic, maxilla bone, mandible, your sphenoid, and this part right here is your lacrimal, and in between that is your ethmoid bone, and this part right here is the nasal. And this middle part is your vomer bone. All right. Next view is the posterior view of the skull. You have your parietal, you have your occipital, temporal, maxilla, and your mandible. Next part is your lateral skull. So as we can see here, we have again your mandible, your maxilla, nasal, the lacrimal, the ethmoid, the zygomatic. This part right here is your sphenoid as well. This part is your frontal lobe, your parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and your temporal lobe. All right, next one we will see is the inferior view of the skull. You have your frontal, sphenoid. This part right here, on the outside, this part right here is your temporal, the parietal, and the occipital. All right, next one is your vertebral column. As we can see here, they are divided into five sections. Your first seven right here is your cervical, being C1 is your atlas and C2 is your axis. And after the cervical is your your thoracic section. The thoracic section is to T1 to T12. The next one just below that is the lumbar. So the lumbar is L1 to L5. So there's five parts of that lumbar section. Then we have your sacrum, and the bottom part right here is your coccyx. All right, next view that we will see is the thoracic cage as well as the sternum. So the first seven pair, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, is your considered the true ribs. Then from 8 to 12 is your false ribs. Now, there are floating ribs on our body as well. So there's the last two pairs that are connected with your T11 and your T12. Then we can see here the sternum, which is the body right here. The top part right here, it looks like a tie. This is the manubrium of the sternum. And lastly is the xiphoid process right here. All right, now we're going to the appendicular skeleton of our body. This is your clavicle, your scapula, humerus, your radius, and ulna. Okay, now we're going to the hands and wrist bones, and this particular one is the right wrist or right hands, I would say, and anterior portion. So with your right hand, these are your phalanges right here, and the thumb only has two, the rest have three, and the metacarpals. And then with the wrist bone, we have the first bone right here. As we can see, this is the trapezium, scaphoid, the lunate. This part right here is the triquetrum, pisiform, the hamate, and one of the biggest bone of the wrist is the capitate, and lastly is the trapezoid. All right, now we look at our pelvic girdle and the lower limbs. This part right here is the ilium, the ischium, and this part right here is the pubic bone, the humerus, the tibia, the fibula, and the patella. All right, then we will look at our foot. There's the right foot. Same thing, this part right here is your phalanges. Then right here, this portion is the metatarsals. As we can see, this bone right here is the cuboid. This part right here is your calcaneus, the talus, navicular, medial cuneiform, intermediate cuneiform, and your lateral cuneiform. All right, that's it for our appendicular and axial skeleton. Now, a disease that can cause the structural changes on these bones are, I would say, osteoporosis. That's one of them. Osteoporosis is uh, characterized by low bone mass and a deterioration of the bone tissue. Now, with this osteoporosis, the reason why it happens is because the overproduction of osteoclast that causes all these changes in the bones. So it becomes brittle and it can cause scoliosis and brittleness and cause fractures. All right. Thank you guys. Bye bye.